Every writer knows that the best conversations about writing don't happen in classrooms or symposia or any other fancy artisanal setting. They happen at the bar, usually after deadline. That's the vibe we're going for here. This is The Other 51, Conversations with Writers About Writing. I'm Brian Moritz. Today's guest is Shea Serrano from The Ringer. Shea Serrano, welcome to The Other 51. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Yeah, no sweat, homie.
This is, I will copyright. This is a big thrill for me. This has been a dream get for me to have you on the podcast. I've been a fan of your, I've been a fan of your writing and your Twitter follower for years. So I appreciate you doing this.
Oh yeah, no sweat.
And I know we have we have at least one shared interest. I've seen from your Twitter feed, and that we are both incredibly big fans of the movie Coco.
Oh yeah. Coco's the best.
So I guess. What was that like? I mean, I can tell you how much I enjoyed the movie, but what was watching that movie and seeing that movie like for you? What was that whole experience, seeing it and experiencing it and watching it as someone who tells stories, as someone who kind of probably, was very familiar with that world? What was that whole world, that experience like for you?
You're doing a good job of saying what was it like watching that movie as a Mexican without saying what was it like watching that movie as a Mexican.
Thank you. I was trying to be coy about it, but great success there.
It was cool, man. Like, I was excited about seeing it. I was excited that it existed, and I don't know, man. It was just fun to watch a good movie that had some brown faces in it that looked like some people I knew. Mm-hmm.
And I remember walking out of the theater after seeing that, and I saw it with my wife and my daughter, and we loved it. Thought it was wonderful. And I just remember feeling this weird sense of I hope that was as respectful of Mexican culture as I felt it was walking out of the theater. And because I hadn't read anything about it, I knew we were going to go see it. I hadn't read anything about it beforehand. And then once we had seen the movie, I started reading some pieces. I think you may have written one, I don't recall. But and the overwhelming positive response it got just kind of made me feel even better about watching it.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, there are always things you can pick apart if you want about anything. But I was glad that it didn't happen a whole bunch with Coco.
And first of all, as we get going, congratulations on the awesome success of Basketball and Other Things. Phenomenal. Such a good book. Such a fun book to read. I'm wondering, was it fun to write, too?
No, books are zero fun to write.
Okay.
It's a super sucky process.
Okay. So we'll get to the sucky part at first, but is there any part of the book process that's fun?
Yeah, it's fun when they give you a check. And that's about where the fun ends.
So you've written 2 books. It's zero fun. So kind of, I guess, why do you keep doing it?
You didn't hear when I just told you that they give you a check?
Okay, I gotcha. Okay.
Like, that's how jobs work. I think people get in this thing. Excuse me. You get in this mode where you're like, oh, I have to love my job and what I do and what, like, this very romantic version of how life works. But for me, that's just not how my life has ever worked. It's like, if I do this thing, they will give me money, and that money will help me stay alive, and it will help my family stay alive. So I'll do the thing. It doesn't matter if I like it or not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I got it. It's that it is that just kind of like, I guess the cliche would be digging ditches. Like you dig ditches every day, and you get paid every week or every other week, and that's your job. And I feel it's weird because I feel like in creative work like this, it tends to be, like you said, this romantic style of like, this is who we are, and like very, very tied up in our identity, as opposed to just being, yeah, it's the thing I do.
Yeah, and it sort of cuts both ways because, like, I know of course I'm playing around when I say it's just a job and I just do it or whatever. Like, I mean, part of me that's true. Sometimes you just don't want to do it, but for the most part, I know it's a way better job than, like, I don't know. My mom works at a corner store. She's been there for 30 years. Like, it's better than that job. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or one day I was driving to work. I have an office that's like 20 minutes from my house, and on my way out of my neighborhood, there were some guys in the morning who were there, and they were setting a driveway. They were putting like a new driveway in. for this business that was opening up. And I saw them in the morning as I was driving to work, and I got to work, and I was having like just a bummer of a day, and I was feeling really mad and like just, I hate this. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go back to teaching. This is too hard. And then as I was driving home later that night, it was like 6 o'clock that night. Those same guys were still out there doing that driveway. And I was like, oh shit, like actually this is not that. I was just in my office watching YouTube videos all day and playing on Twitter. This was actually not that hard of a job.
Right. I had a moment like that when I was in grad school. It was like, I think I was doing exams or something. And yeah, same thing, kind of like, this is hard. This is really hard. Then I got home and similar thing. I think guys were like paving the driveway or doing some like outdoor summer work in the apartment complex I was living in. And I tried to remember, I'm like, oh, that's a hard job. That's a sucky job. Mine reading all day. That's cool. I can handle that.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, so the book, the Basketball and Other Things book, and kind of going back a little bit, but where did the idea come from to write that book? How did you first kind of get the idea that this was something you were going to do?
Well, I knew I wanted to do another book. I knew I wanted it to be basketball, and I knew I wanted to write about, like, I couldn't figure out just one specific thing I wanted to write. Mm-hmm. Oh, I was like, well, let me figure out a way to write about a bunch of different things. And it was just like, I'll just sit there and talk with my wife about what are the ways I can make this happen. What's the structure? What's it look like? And you go through a bunch of different versions of it before you settle on the one you wanted. So that's all it was. It wasn't nothing special when like I just was struck by an idea. It was talking to my wife or talking to my editor and trying to figure out what the most interesting way to structure a book would be. And I'd not seen a book like what Basketball and Other Things ended up being, so I wanted to make that one.
That's cool. Yeah, that's always great advice, too. You're kind of like, what's the thing that's never been made, or what's the thing that you want to make, and then make that, rather than trying to write a book like any other book, or kind of trying to fit it into a mold or something. It really stands out in look and feel and everything. And I think that's one of the best things about it, to be honest, is kind of it doesn't read like every other basketball book.
Right. Well, I appreciate that.
So I guess the look of the book, I'm wondering too. You have a lot of kind of thematic essays about it, and then the drawings and the comics, which are amazing and super cool. Can you remember how that idea came about, where you were that was the look of the book, that it was going to be kind of almost like a comic, almost like a graphic novel oriented?
Yeah, we knew going in it was going to be illustrated, because okay. I like art.
Okay.
And I know it's very helpful if some of the things I'm writing about are sort of spatial or very silly. It's helpful to have a picture so you can see that thing. It just makes it feel more real. Mm-hmm. Like if we're talking about the chapter about Karl Malone and a bear in the forest. It's like, okay, we want to write about what happens if we take Karl Malone and put him in the forest for a season, and we swap out Malone for a bear on the Jazz. Like, that's a very silly, weird thing to write. Mm-hmm. But if I've got some art in there that shows those two things happening, it just makes it feel a little more concrete or a little more substantial. So we, Arturo and I talked beforehand about what style of art we wanted, what we wanted it to feel like, or whatever. This is just a very collaborative process.
And you've probably been asked this a billion times, but I feel compelled to ask it. What was it like that moment you saw Obama's list?
It was cool. At first I thought it was fake. I thought somebody was playing a joke on me. Somebody sent it to me on Twitter. I just happened to be opening up Twitter and it popped up. And I was like, there's no way this is real. So I went to go check his Facebook page, and then as I was doing that, my phone started, buzzing a whole bunch. Mm-hmm. And that's when I realized it was real. That was a very crazy moment. I mean, that, like, who's a bigger cosign than Barack Obama,
Right.
How many times does that happen? How many times has it ever happened? Like, that's just crazy. So I was feeling very overwhelmed and very, like, excited about it. And then the more I thought about it, the more excited I got, because that's a thing where, like, if you compare it to, say, the New York Times bestseller list, Like we got basketball and other things. It was number one on that list. That's like there's a formula for that to get the book to be that. There's a way to do that or make that happen. There's not a way to make Barack Obama read your book and like your book. It just has to happen, you know. So I felt like, oh, that's a cool thing that I'm going to be able to say forever. That maybe like some of my friends can't say back to me.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Well, you said earlier that it is zero fun writing a book. Why is that? I've never written a book, and I'm actually starting to write a book. So what have I gotten myself into here? It's
just a lot of work. It's a great deal of work. It's way more work than you're anticipating. So that's like the no fun part. Researching for a book is great. If we're going to write about a basketball book, I'm going to watch a ton of old basketball games and a ton of old basketball highlights, and I'm going to get to read other basketball books. Like, that part's cool. When you actually have to sit down and make the thing, it's just a lot of effort. It's hard to write a book because of how much work goes into it. It's hard to write a book because of how tricky it is trying to find a way to write something that hasn't been written yet. It's just too much work, way more work than you're thinking.
And it wasn't any easier the second time for you?
No. The only difference there was I knew what it was going to be.
Okay.
That's all. I'll give you an example, or I guess it's not an example, but like an analogy. One time when I was little, my family and I went to the lake, and they had these like little paddle boats that you could rent. So my mom rented us one. It was like $5 or whatever, and you got it for 30 minutes or something. So we like piled in the little paddle boat. It was 4 or 5 of us. And we paddled that sucker all the way out to the middle of the lake, somewhere near there. And then I was like, fuck it, I'm going to swim back. Watch this. And I jumped out. Me and my cousin jumped out and we started swimming back. And like halfway there, I was dead tired and I started to panic because I was like, there's no way I'm going to make it. I'm like crying in the water because I think I'm going to drown. The paddle boat is way far away. Like, I had no idea how hard it was going to be. I didn't know what to expect. Fast forward like 2 or 3 years and we're in a similar situation, and I jumped out again, but I knew this time what it was going to be. It didn't make the work any easier.
Right.
I just knew what I was getting into.
I'm wondering your career as a writer, and you know, I know you've told the story in a lot of places about how you started writing and the development of your career. I'm wondering if, because of the way you started writing while you were a teacher, what kind of influences that had on either your style, your voice, how you write? I mean, how much has that, your journey as a writer, impacted what you write and what kind of writer you are?
I would guess that I don't know. There are a few different things it touches on. I think, first of all, because writing is not like a thing that I've just always loved or a dream that I had ever since I was a kid, that it makes it a little easier for me to chase down, because it's like, if I fail at it or if I screw up at it, it's not a devastating thing to me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
No, it's not like a heartbreaking thing. Like, if I messed up in teaching and all my kids failed whatever, like, that would be devastating. But if I write a bad book or a bad article, it's like, whatever, I'll do it. I'll just do another one.
Okay.
So there's that. And then I guess as far as the way that I write, a lot of the stuff when I'm writing an article, that I try to make sure that it has a point. And when you're teaching a class, there's like a point. There's a reason they're in the classroom. By the end of the class, you need to know these things. And when I'm writing an article, I try to approach it the same way. Like, here's the reason I'm writing this article, and by the end of the article, you need to know these things. So that's probably where it's the most similar.
Do you do you kind of like at all formally plot it out, or is it just kind of in your head? You know, when you start, that by the end you're going to you're going to have hit these points.
No, I have it all laid out ahead of time.
Okay. Where do you get your story ideas from for The Ringer?
Sometimes they'll come from the editors. Most of the time, it's just sitting there thinking about shit. Okay. Like every Thursday night, Friday or so, I send over a list of ideas. Like I call it a pitch email, and I send it. It's got like maybe 3 or 4 ideas for stuff I want to write in the coming week. So, like, let's say if I do that on Friday, I spend all of Friday morning, early afternoon, just combing through different news sites, different basketball sites, different, whatever, looking for something that jumps out that I can turn into an article of some sort.
Okay.
It's not like this magic thing where I just go, oh, this is what I'm going to write this week. It takes a long time. It's like hours and hours of sitting there, working my way through an idea until I land at what I think it should be or what the best version of it is.
Okay. When you're doing that reading and kind of trying to think of what's going in that pitch email, is there something specific you're looking for? Is it just something that trips in your head? How do you know when you're reading something that, like, yes, this is what I'm writing about this week, or what I want to write about?
Well, it's usually something that's got to be timely, and it helps if it's news-based. Editors like that sort of thing.
Right.
And then you just go from there. Like, I don't know. Let's see. When will this podcast go up?
It's going to go up on Thursday.
Okay, so that means yesterday, Wednesday, an article went up that I wrote about Kyrie Irving.
Okay.
And last week, sometime Thursday or Friday, I was looking through all the different basketball sites, and I noticed two things. I saw, number one, it was the anniversary of when Kyrie Irving scored 57 points against the Spurs, which is his career high. He did it on March 12 of 2015, and it happened in San Antonio. It was this great game, and so that happened. And then also I saw that the Celtics are playing in the national game on Wednesday night. So I said, okay, well, let me try to figure out a way that I can write about Kyrie Irving and also maybe about this game, which was cool. So then I just sat there for, an hour or so trying to think of an angle. And then I was like, oh, I got it. I'm going to write about how that's the one game in Kyrie Irving's career where he scored in every way that he knows how to score. It wasn't just like he only shot threes or it was only layups or it was only mid-range. Just like he did every single thing in that shot. He had the crazy twisty layups that he does. He was 7 for 7 from 3, 10 for 10 from the free throw line. He hit a buzzer beater to send the game into overtime. He hit a three-pointer to put the Cavs up 4, like sort of ice the game. Like he had the free throws he scored every single way that he knows how to score in that game. So I'm going to write about that. And that's how I got there. I saw it was the anniversary of that game. The Celtics have the national game. Let's figure this out.
All right. I'm wondering, are you a fast writer or a slow writer?
I don't know what the average time is. It usually takes me like 2 days to write a thing.
Okay. And one of the things that I've always loved about your writing is your voice, a very distinct voice, very very what I assume is you voice. This is the first time we've ever spoke, but I feel like I know your voice from reading you a lot. This is always feels like a weird question to ask, but how did you develop that writing voice of yours?
That just comes from writing a whole bunch. The more you write, the more confident you get. The more confident you get, the better you get, and the better you get, the more freedom you get, and it just sort of after that point starts to circle up around itself.
Okay.
In the beginning, though, there are definitely some tricks you can do. Like a thing that I still do today when I'm writing an article, usually my process will be I will research everything first. I'll spend like a whole day just doing research. I'm watching all of Kyrie's old highlight videos. I'm reading all of Kyrie's old interviews. I'm doing like 8 hours of Kyrie research so that I can write about it. And I'm taking my notes and I have all that stuff. And then prior to writing the article, I will talk to somebody about it in real life. Like I will have a conversation and I will say, this is what I'm going to write. And then I'll just, we will have a back and forth about it. And then that helps me get a sense of like what the pacing should be, what the important information is. Did the other person say something that rounds out the story a little bit better? And then I just take all of that and type it up. So usually anything you've read that I've written somewhere, that was a conversation I had with somebody else prior to.
That's really interesting. That's a good tip I want to say for my students, because that idea of talking it out with somebody, it can be really useful getting rid of like writer's block, or just like the help. It sounds like it really helps focus focus the article and kind of focus your mind before you sit down.
Yeah, that's exactly what it does. And also, it will help you figure out real quick, am I missing some information here?
Right.
Because the other person will ask you. You know, if you're just writing it yourself and you don't have a piece of information and you've not run it by anybody else, you can write around something you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But usually if you're talking to another person, they're going to ask you. You can tell when someone doesn't know the answer to a question. Then you just go find it. And yeah, it helps out with all of that stuff.
What makes the NBA so compelling, especially now in 2018, do you think?
There are a billion reasons. It's a fun game. It's a fast-moving game. The players are not... They're out there. You can see them on Twitter or Instagram or even on the court. They're not wearing hats or masks or anything. They interact a lot with each other on the internet. It's just a perfect mixture of all of the great things about sports, I think.
Do you have a favorite NBA era?
I don't know. That's a tricky question. I would probably say in the mid-90s, somewhere around there.
All right.
Because that's when I was a teenager and I was sort of really learning about basketball or learning to love basketball. Close second, though, would definitely be right now.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, I was same age as you, right around the same age as you. So I was like a teenager, high school, in the early to mid '90s. The kind of like when Jordan was at his peak, and it's funny, like that seems to be like, I don't know, it's like your peak NBA for a lot of people seems to be when they were a teenager. You know, if you were a teenager in the mid '90s, that was your era. If you were a teenager in the '80s, you were Magic Bird era. And now for my students, like this is a golden age, which it sort of is. But it's just interesting about how basketball seems to lend itself to that era. That time of your life seems to connect to basketball in some way.
Yeah, that's how. Nostalgia is fun and it feels good, and it makes your cold little heart feel warm for a bit when you remember things.
I don't know if I've seen you ask this question, but it's come up in my class. So, LeBron versus Michael.
If they're playing one-on-one?
Yeah.
Or I think if they're playing one-on-one, and I think it's got to be LeBron.
Okay.
I think LeBron he's too big. He's too good of a defender. He's just too smart.
Mm-hmm.
And Jordan, of course, is all of those things, but he doesn't shoot as well from the field. And I think that's just a big difference right there.
So other thing I wanted to ask you, it's kind of related to writing, but more your Twitter feed, is I love when you get the FOH Army going. Is there, first of all, if people aren't familiar with it, first of all, shame on them. But what is the FOH Army? How do you describe it to people?
That is a thing that is hard to describe to anybody not on the internet. It is a group of people loosely assembled on Twitter who will just join up and do whatever thing it is we feel like needs to be done on a particular day. It started as like somebody said it while we were in the middle of selling the Rap Yearbook, and we were like selling out a bunch of places and causing a bunch of trouble, and then somebody referred to it as the FOH Army because I kept like replying to people who were saying they weren't going to buy it or that it wasn't going to be a good book. I was just responding FOH to them, which is shorthand for like, get the fuck out of here. Mm-hmm. And after a while of like, after the second place had sold out, somebody called it the FOH Army, and they said that's what was going around buying up everything. And that's really that's where the name came from. And then it just sort of grew out from there. But I think mostly people know it because we do a bunch of charity stuff. Mm-hmm. Like in 2017, we donated, I think, a little over $200,000 to different places, which is fucking crazy.
That's amazing. Does it blow you away every time that happens?
Yeah, I always think like, okay, so this will be the time that it doesn't work, but every time I'm wrong.
Do you have one One that you're particularly proud of? I know you're probably proud of all of them, but is there one that kind of stands out as being memorable, or that you were really excited to see a goal met or something like that?
My favorite thing was when we did the charity stuff the first time, we didn't tell anybody that we were doing it. The way that it happened was Arturo and I were doing a weekly newsletter at the time. He was illustrating stories or the stuff that I was writing. We would send it out every Tuesday at like 9 a.m. or something. This was right during the NBA playoffs. And it started out just like as a thing because I wasn't working. I was at Grantland. Grantland got shut down, so I didn't have a place to write. But I wanted to keep writing. I had gone a few months without doing anything, so we started that. And so it was just like a little not even a side hustle because we weren't trying to make money with it. It was just a thing we were doing. And it started out as a small, a couple hundred people is what we were thinking. And I was using this company called MailChimp to do it. And MailChimp will let you use their software for free if you have 200 or less subscribers to your newsletter. So I was like, all right, cool, this is perfect. We'll get, I'll get to practice writing. It's free. It's not going to cost me anything. And we started the newsletter, and I posted the link to it. And then, shortly thereafter, we were at 30,000 people subscribed to it or something like that. Something crazy. It was enough to where we now all of a sudden had to pay like a few $100s a month. I think it's like $250 a month to use the software. And so people were like, hey, you should let us pay for that because you're doing this for free, whatever. And I kept telling them, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to take any money because we didn't want to be beholden to anybody. We just wanted to do the thing and whatever. And after maybe a month of people asking, I told Arturo, all right, I'm going to put a thing in here where people can donate. And we're just going to take that money. We're going to give it away. And he said, all right, that's cool with me. So we put it in there, and I thought we would get maybe a couple $100. And the newsletter went out the next morning, and my phone started going nuts. And then I looked at it, and all of a sudden we had like a few $1,000s already sent in. It's like, holy shit, this is more than we were anticipating. So we gave some to Arturo for drawing the pictures, and we took the rest and we donated it to a women's shelter in Dallas that Arturo had spent some time in when he was a kid. And then we told everybody like the next day or something. We posted screenshots of everything. Here's where the money went. Like, haha, whatever. Mm-hmm. We tricked you. And then 4 weeks later we did it again, but the second time we did it, everybody already knew, and they were like, well, where's the money going to go this time? Who are you going to give it to? And I thought that was cool, that people had just that quickly already began assuming that that's what we were going to do with the thing. So now there's no like tricks anymore. I can't like trick the people because they know that's what's going to happen. I just go, here's where we're going to send money today, and then we send the money there. But when they started expecting it to happen, I thought that's like a cool reputation to have.
Yeah, I was going to say, and it's, of everything that happens on Twitter these days, it's so awesome to see, this like burst of like positivity and like, let's do something for good people who deserve it. And there's so much crap on that platform. It's just awesome when you guys get going. It's a great snowball to be a part of and to watch.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot, mostly because whenever we do it, like the last one we did, whatever was, I think we donated it to this place called I Support the Girls. They deliver like underwear or hygiene products to homeless women or whatever. We did that for International Women's Day, and I was like, okay, we're gonna do this for 1 hour. We're gonna join our money together and send a donation, and it ended up being like, I think all told about $9,000.
That's crazy.
Because we did about 6,000 ourselves, and then the spillage afterward that went to the site, they said it ended up being a little over $9,000. But yeah, it was like in an hour we did that, and I get to seem like I'm this like very generous dude, but I only put in $25 of the $9,000. But it goes like, they're like, oh wow, look at what Shea did, even though I didn't do anything except connect some PayPal addresses.
What's the best thing you've read lately?
The best thing I read lately was probably, I read this article by Sean Fennessy about why There Will Be Blood was the best movie of 2007.
Okay.
And I think I read that several weeks ago, and that one has sort of stuck with me. I've been in like a movie mode lately. I've been wanting to learn a lot about movies, so I've been reading a bunch of movie stuff, and I really liked that article.
All right, what about that? Just out of curiosity, because I'm not familiar with that. What from that article stood out to you?
The thing that stood out to me was that Sean writes in a way that... Did you ever play football?
Yeah.
Middle school football, high school football?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, in middle school football, when you're first learning, they teach you on a kickoff. If you're on the kickoff, you've got your guys lined up. You've got your 10 guys or whatever lined up with your kicker. He kicks the ball, and then all the guys start running, and you come in from the outside in, like a net is how they explain it to you, right?
Right.
You're trying to trap the runner in this net and close him in, and that's how Sean writes. He doesn't write in a straight line, and I'm like, that's how I write. It's very linear. This is where we're going, and here's how we're going to get there. Right. Sean does it the opposite way. Sean does it where you read the article, and you don't really know what's happening until all of a sudden you're in the middle of it, and you have all the information, and you've learned a lot of stuff, and you go like, holy shit, I did not see that coming.
That's cool. That's a cool and that's a hard trick to pull off as a writer, too, to be able to write like that and report like that. That takes serious game to do that.
Yeah, those are my favorite writers are the ones who do that. Sean does that really well. There's this guy named Chris X who writes about rap music that does it really well. Gia Tolentino at the New Yorker does it really well. Kara Brown, who I think she freelances for different places now because she's working on a TV show. She does it really well. Like those sorts of writers I really enjoy because that's a thing I can't do. So I like to... same reason I like to watch somebody dunk a basketball. Like, I can't do that, so I want to see it.
Right. So I can recommend, I'm in the middle of it right now. It's a novel, High Dive, by Jonathan Lee. And it's a novel set around the bombing, an IRA bombing of a hotel where Margaret Thatcher was staying in 1984. It's a famous terrorist attack in that conflict, and it's a novelization of it. So it's taking the point of view of the hotel manager, his daughter, and one of the bombers, or something like that. And about halfway through, and it's just super interesting the way they're kind of, because you're writing about it, something that really happened, but you're fictionalizing it in a way. It's a really interesting thing the writer's doing, and it's a very cool story so far. So.
Yeah, it's always fun.
Yeah. So, Shea, this has been fantastic. Thank you for taking the time to join me today.
All right, homie.
As always, thanks for listening to The Other 51. You can find show notes for this episode and all our episodes at sportsmediaguy.com on the Other 51 tab. You can subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. I can highly recommend Overcast for this. Our theme music is by Ellie Moritz.